Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle, and this is my latest episode of New Music Weekly, the show where I give you guys the biggest prog news headlines for the week, talk about some latest prog singles that have come out, and give you some updates on my channel and what's been going on here and what you can expect in the future. So if you're interested in a good prog news program weekly that tells you guys what's going on out there in that world, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. It would be really incredible. I'm trying to build the channel as much as possible and become a one-stop shop for all great progressive rock stuff. You know, I do all kinds of videos, reviews, and stuff with my wife, and it's just a really fun place to be. So please subscribe, like the video, comment, do all of that stuff. It would really be appreciated. So moving into the week, this is September 16th, 2022, and as usual, I like to start the news headlines with the newest releases that have come out that have been interesting, at least from my point of view. The first one is the Mars Volta released their 7th full-length studio album, and so it's been quite a while since they've released an album. They went on quite a long hiatus. In fact, it seemed like they were pretty much finished as a band and had done all that they were going to do as a group. But here they are again with a new full-length album. This is a self-titled album that just came out. It's available, of course, to buy in multiple formats, CD, vinyl, and all of that stuff, cassette even, I see here. And it's really an interesting album because it's going away from their typical chaotic, very progressive, very intense sound that they're known for from their early records and moving more to a bit of a poppier style, a bit more shorter tracks and focusing more on these Caribbean rhythms and beats and more of an accessible nature to their music. So it's really interesting. I've listened through once, so not really enough to give very concrete thoughts about it, but it's a very different stylistic shift for the band that I think is an interesting one and worth checking out if you're a fan of the Mars Volta and what they do. Very prominent, newer progressive rock group that was very hailed in their prime period of music creation. And so this is a really interesting step for them, and we'll see if this catapults them to doing some more stuff in the future. If this is kind of a one-off reunion type thing, that will remain to be seen. But it seems like they're excited about this direction and that it's really an interesting one that embraces more of a pop styling, more maybe some more world music feel in the beats and in the soundscapes and the instrumentation they're using. So it's them at their most mature, most concise, and most focused. Their Sound and Fury channeled to greatest effect, as the press release said. So that's an interesting release. I also see that Marillion's Holidays in Eden, this big deluxe box set package, was released today as well, that a lot of people are really interested in. So check that one out as well. I've talked about it before, I believe, on this channel. So it should be a really cool, expansive package of one of their early albums, one of their first with Steve Hogarth. So really, really cool album to check out in a big deluxe package format, as they have done in the past. Headline number 2, I wanted to mention Close to the Edge by Yes. Of course, the classic progressive rock album had its 50th birthday this past week on Tuesday. It was released September 13th, 1972. So here we are 50 years later celebrating an incredible album, one of the best, if not the best, of the genre. Not just an incredible, monumental progressive rock album, but just a monumental musical statement in general by one of the pioneers of the genre and really an important group to the history of rock music, in fact. So one of my favorite albums of all time. It's hard to deny its power and its impact, and it really inspired and influenced so many musicians coming forward. So it's really cool to see it being celebrated for its 50th anniversary, not just from the prog realm, but from music history in general, just from the music world, recognizing its significance and importance. So really, really cool. The band members, you know, have talked a bit about it and talked about their inspirations for it, and I see that it peaked on the Billboard 200 at number 3, their highest charting entry. I thought that was interesting. Of course, it's composed of 3 pieces of music: Close to the Edge, the title track, And You and I, and then Siberian Khatru. Classic 3 songs that are all top tier Yes songs in their own rights, of course, and they all fit together perfectly on the album. It's ranked number 5 on Rolling Stone's list of 50 greatest prog rock albums of all time, which to me is a little low even. I would put it in at least the top 2 or 3, if not number 1. So, but really cool that it's getting some accolades and some attention, so I wanted to point that out and just give a happy birthday to Close to the Edge, one of my favorite all-time albums. So, moving on, item number 3, King Crimson's 80s albums are getting vinyl reissues. This is coming out on Panegyric Records on October 28th. They're being released on 200-gram super heavyweight vinyl for the very first time. This is, of course, Discipline from 1981, Beat from 1982, and Three of a Perfect Pair from 1984, featuring the Robert Fripp, Bill Bruford, Adrian Belew, and Tony Levin lineup, which brought a stylistic change to their sound, incorporating rock with electronica, funk, pure pop, modern avant-garde, and a complex variety of musical textures and influences. You know, King Crimson, to be honest, has been a band that I've had a developing relationship with. Sometimes I really like their material and find them to be really cool and interesting. Sometimes they veer off the path a little bit to something a little bit too weird and chaotic and avant-garde for my taste personally with what I come for in music, but I really respect them as musicians. I respect that they really did things differently, had a creative outlet that allowed them to do things even beyond what other bands were capable of doing, and I like that they continually shifted and changed their sound to update to the newest era in music, but always kept that progressive spirit. You know, they never really sold out, as some bands you could argue did, and just embraced like a pure pop sound just to move away from the prog beginnings that they were known for. I think King Crimson kept that in their DNA and really allowed it to flourish even in later periods of music. So all 3 albums were reissued as part of the band's 40th anniversary reissue campaign on CD, but this is the first time coming on vinyl, and it'll feature those 40th anniversary stereo mixes from Steven Wilson and Robert Fripp. The albums have all been mastered by Jason Mitchell at Loud Mastering from Original Studio Masters, so should be a cool set of albums to pick up if you're looking for these on vinyl, finally being released for the first time here. Item number 4, I saw that Opeth announced they have a new drummer. Former Paradise Lost, Bloodbath, and Bodom After Midnight drummer Waltteri Vayrynen has joined the band on a full-time basis and will make his live debut with the band, in fact, 2 days ago in Tallinn, Estonia, September 14th. So he's already made that debut and replaces their stand-in drummer Sami Karppinen, who stepped in to help on their U.S. tour with Mastodon after the departure of Martin Axelrod, who left the band on the eve of that tour. So sounds like they're really excited about this new direction. Michael Ackerfeld talked about how in rehearsal they jammed together and had a really good time and it went really well, and that he's killing it as a drummer for the group. So I really like Opeth and their sound, so I thought this was a cool news item to see that they're bringing in a new drummer on board for some of these support dates on this tour, and we'll see what happens proceeding in the future, if that means that he'll be playing on their next studio record whenever that may come out. Could be interesting to see. So really cool to see a new member brought into the fold of Opeth, and should hopefully influence their sound and see what happens with them moving forward. And then kind of an interesting bit of news at item number 5 here. I saw that Rick Wakeman and Jeff Downes are guesting on a new film soundtrack for a film called Frost. And the soundtrack, it looks like, is from Fernando Perdomo, who's a notable person in the modern prog rock realm, a guitarist who has several really notable solo records and has played on a bunch of other people's records as well, Dave Kersner, for example. So really interesting set of notable prog musicians coming together on a soundtrack. I don't really know too much about this film itself, but it seems like it focuses on auto accident, leaving 2 main characters, a father and daughter, stranded in an icy mountain wilderness where they have to fight for their survival. So that will be interesting to see that. I'm not sure where that will be available to watch, but they do have a track out now from the soundtrack that features Rick Wakeman. called The Crash, so you can listen to that on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description. And so it's really interesting to see some notable prog musicians contributing to a film soundtrack, even if it's a more independent or smaller film. This soundtrack will be released on white vinyl on September 23rd, while the CD will be part of the special Blu-ray package to be released on October 11th. So that should be cool. It features other musicians as well, contributions from Canadian electro-industrial rockers Frontline Assembly, electric violinist El Shankar, and guitarist and singer Terry Reid. So definitely some interesting personalities there, and should be an interesting little soundtrack with a bit of a progressive vibe from the musicians that are coming aboard. So should be pretty cool. And then we've got our 5 prog singles, which I really recommend you guys check out. I'll run down the list a little bit, but really I'd like for you guys to go in the description and click the links and really listen for yourself. I think these are some pretty interesting tracks. We've got Glass Hammer. They released their first track from their upcoming album At the Gate, which comes out October 7th. The track is The Years Roll By. It's the opening track. It's more of a ballad feel, but it's very progressive, very beautiful sounding. It's really an incredible piece of music that I think is an incredible statement, and good to show that the band still are embracing their prog roots and showing something a bit more symphonic and more in their classic style. The singing on it is beautiful from their singer. She's really been an amazing addition to the group. But it's a really cool track and bodes well for the album. Their last couple albums have been a bit heavier in approach, not like heavy metal by any stretch, but maybe a little bit of influence of an older school style metal like early Black Sabbath or early Rush, something like that, which is a little bit of a departure from their typical symphonic sound that they were known for, very much sounding like Yes and Genesis in their heyday. But this kind of brings back that older reference to those symphonic bands. So it'll be interesting to see how this proceeds. It's the 3rd album in a trilogy of albums that they've been doing, telling a continuous story, the Scalagrim trilogy. So should be really cool. Definitely go and seek that out and go pre-order the album. It's available for pre-order on the Glass Hammer's website and should be really cool to check out. I also included a track from Arc of Life called All Things Considered. Arc of Life is basically an offshoot of the current iteration of Yes. It features John Davison, Billy Sherwood, and Jay Shellen, who are really playing and participating in new Yes music. But they're rounded out by Jimmy Hahn on guitar, and then Dave Kersner from Sound of Contact and in Continuum playing keyboards. So really interesting lineup with some really notable progressive rock musicians. The new sound is really cool. Sounds a lot like that Yes spirit in this new track, so it's really cool. This is their follow-up album from their debut, which came out last year, self-titled debut. This upcoming album is called Don't Look Down, being released through Frontiers Records on November 18th, so something to look forward to if you like those musicians. Evership has a new music video out for their upcoming album, The Uncrowned King Act 2. This track is called The Law of Ages, another beautiful track from them. Really cool sound, neo-prog mixed with some maybe art rock, AOR type sound like Queen and bands of that nature. And so it's a really cool group that deserves attention. So I'm sure I'll be talking about their new album when it comes. There's a new track from the band Circles, Melbourne alt metal group. The track is called Dig, a very heavy track, progressive metal. This is a new single, and they'll be coming out with a new album, an EP, in fact, The Stories We Are Afraid Of, Volume 1. So yeah, September 14th is the release of this single, and announcing of pre-orders for the EP. So definitely could be a cool one to check out if you're into that heavier alt metal type sound. And I also really liked this track from ORK, or Ork, I'm not sure how to say it, ORK, Don't Call Me a Joke, which is a group that features Colin Edwin and Pat Mastelotto alongside Leif and guitarist Carmen Pipitone. A really cool video being released for this track, and their new album comes out on October 21st called Screamnasium. So another really cool track to check out that I think you guys will like. So those are really my main items to discuss today. Hopefully you enjoyed this little rundown of prog news and have some new music to check out. That's always the goal. As for the channel, it was a little bit of a light week, I'll admit. This past week I did my latest top 5 video, which was the top 5 albums featuring John Mitchell, of course, of Frost and Arena and It Bites fame. Not really one of the most popular videos, unfortunately. I don't know if he's as well known by the audience at large, so I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't feel compelled to click on that one, but it was a fun discussion. And if you're willing to look into a new artist that I think is one of the shining stars of modern prog, and sample some of the albums they've been featured on, I think, you know, go check that one out. I would hope that it would appeal to a lot more people, so I would appreciate that if you guys could check it out. This upcoming week, another top 5, which should be more of a topic that people can relate to and contribute to. I'm really excited to see the response to this upcoming topic and seeing people's commentary. It's one of it's a topic where I think the comment section is gonna give a lot of great information that is probably even beyond what I'm able to communicate in my video. So hopefully you guys are primed and ready to come in with your own stories based on the topic. I don't want to spoil it yet, but I think you guys will enjoy that one. I'm hoping to do a Spock's Beard ranking show. That might take a little bit of extra editing and things, but it's in the works. So I'm hoping it'll come out this week, but if it isn't, it might be a little bit delayed just due to the time it takes to edit, and that I have other things going on, but I'm hopeful that that should come out. So if not this week, sometime in the near future, I'm going to rank Spock's Beard's albums. Should be a fun time. And beyond that, just continuing forward with Prog Song Sunday and all the usual lineup of shows that we have here. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Hopefully you enjoyed this rundown and found some interesting news items. Please let me know in the comments any other releases that have come out that you're excited for, or anything in the news that you feel should be mentioned that I maybe didn't cover here. So thank you guys so much for all your support, and for the likes, for the comments, for all that you do to participate in my little prog community here. I really appreciate it, and I'm just so grateful for you all. So thank you guys, and I'll hopefully catch you guys in the next video. Thank you, and enjoy the music. Bye, everybody.